So aloha nakala. Mahalo nui for taking
Well,
time out of your busy schedule to come wala'au with me. I know we didn't really get to speak in length about what this project is about. So I'm just going to speak briefly about our assignment. So I'm taking a class called Nā Koʻokoʻo, which is a Native Hawaiian political leadership class at UH Manoa. And we were tasked
all
with
right.
interviewing, yeah, we were tasked with interviewing leaders who we wanted to highlight in the Hawaiian community, who aloha aina and lead by example. So I chose you because your work as a kia'i of Makua, and Aina, which we both are descended from, and your efforts to shift the way that Aina is stewarded is something that I think that needs to be told. And
Mahalo.
yeah, yeah. So the purpose of the interview is just maybe get some of your insight about leadership, as well as aloha aina and what that kind of means to you. So I know I sent you over a framework of like questions I was
Yeah,
going to ask you, but
yeah. Taylor sent me the questions, so thank you
yeah,
for doing that, bro. Appreciate that. So
yeah. So just don't feel pressure to have to like stick to the framework. If you
yeah, yeah.
want to like go off on a tangent and talk about something completely different, I encourage
Okay.
that. You know, so yeah, we're just gonna jump right into it.
Okay.
Just for the purposes of the interview, can you tell me, Ovai ko inoa a ko aina? So what is your name and what aina do you come from?
Micah Hartwell, Kalani Lana Kila Doane Ko'okoʻo. I reside now in Waikele, Oahu. I grew up in Palisades of Pacific Palisades in Pearl City, but often ventured down Leeward side as a kid growing up. My grandparents and I'll go them down Makua side. So yeah, that's where I reside in Waikele right now.
What was it like growing up on the leeward side? Like, was there anything that you enjoyed doing? Something that maybe a kupuna of yours taught you how to do that you continue to practice today? What kind of things?
So I remember as young kids, we'd have to wake up early in the morning and we'd go with our Uncle Ivanhoe and Evie.
Yeah,
Our uncle and and with our grandma Elizabeth is my grandmother.
yeah,
But they would take us down Makua, and a lot of times in the beginning we'd go fishing at that area now known as like the Myers are living there, but by Barking Sands area right before Makua Cave. A fellow by the name of Uncle Charlie Rainey, who was Uncle Ivanhoe's best friend, another Paneola cowboy, lived over there. So we'd go fish over there. And eventually, after some of the other trips, as we got older, we'd go wake up early in the morning to go Malamara, the cemetery down in Makua, for the day with Uncle them. And a lot of memories, working in the cemetery. Back then, it was real rough and kind of not what you see today. If you used to go look at the cemetery today, it's very beautiful. And the new Ohana is a credit to do that. They're a longtime family friend of our Naivi Ohana out in Makua, and Uncle Moku, and their Ohana have been taking care of the cemetery lately. But those are some of the memories we had growing up. At that point in time, it was like the early 90s to late 90s. There was a lot of people living at Makua on the beach. So places to camp, there wasn't much room left on the beach to camp. So we'd actually camp in the cemetery over there. And so that was kind of an interesting story to tell your friends, like, oh yeah, we just went camping in the graveyard this past weekend. And be like, what? But when it's family, it's all different. So it was a lot of those times and experiences growing up in the cemetery with Uncle Ivanhoe. We were kind of young kids, but always remember him talking about Makua and his history there. I guess living there as children, but he was always passionate when talking about it, because I guess the way the ownership turned, toward the military and that controversial takeover, that he was very passionate about the place that he grew up. And he would always tell us guys that one day he was going to make things right and get the Aina return from the military to the people. So yeah, that was kind of some memories we had growing up. And then eventually when we got old enough, of course, turning to the ocean and just our love for the ocean and bodyboarding and wave riding. And those were some of the best spots that we would frequent. So yeah, man, that was the spot growing up, and back then, besides the people living on the beach, not too many people would go visit these areas, yeah, from afar. So it'd be pretty secluded, man. So
Yeah, I remember even when I was a kid, we would go camping in Mokoa pretty often, and even back then it was still pretty secluded, and we never had as much traffic coming in as we have
oh
today.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
it's kind of a trip to see how much it's changed over like
Hmm.
the span of like just a couple years. Um,
Yeah,
so that's why I value your work so much, that is so appropriate in this time, where we see these massive influxes of tourists coming in, people that aren't
hmm,
kama'aina with makua, who come here and maybe maybe it's innocence, and maybe it's just straight up neglect, that they mistreat the aina. Um,
hmm.
so that's why I really value the work that you do.
Yeah,
Um,
that's good. You you're old enough to have those memories of what it was like before that wave of social media and stuff. So I'm glad that you guys are able to experience that, because now it's just like we're working to return those memories. But I mean, complete night and day difference. Yeah, like you said before, if you had three other campsites at Makua, it'd be crowded. So, but yeah.
yeah. So I noticed you brought up Uncle Ivanhoe, who I wish that was somebody that I wish that I had grown up with. But he's someone that we both know is someone that's super knowledgeable about Makua.
Hmm.
So going on in that vein, could you tell me about some important kumu or teachers that really taught you or guided you in your journey as a kia'i?
So yeah, Uncle Ivanhoe was definitely one of them in terms of his extreme passion for that area. Um, and just whatever knowledge he shared is unfortunate that he kind of passed at the early age that he did. I think a lot of people expected him to be around because he had a lot of information and knowledge, and now trying to find that information is not that easy because a lot of it is just through mo'olelo. But Uncle Ivan, as well as my grandmother Elizabeth, who took us down there. My parents growing up, I believe, were good teachers in the discipline of hard work, a good work ethic, and this was talking about it with my dad too earlier. My father would always tell us growing up, don't ever wait for somebody to tell you to do something. If you see something that needs to be done, just do it without being told. And a lot of the lessons would have to do with like walking past one piece of rubbish or something like that. I see a lot of people, they just will walk past it with not really thinking, but it got to a point in time where I had a hard time just walking past things like that. And also, one kumu that was helpful was Uncle Kio Franda from Waipio Valley. I went to UH Hilo after high school, and when we got to go visit down in his place in Waipio, that's one of the biggest impacts I had, where I felt like I really got in touch with my Hawaiian roots, because when you go down there, you're forced to live that lifestyle, right? Of no running water, no electricity, and I loved it. It was really an experience for me to be able to get in touch with the roots in a humble fashion, where you just working the aina and nothing, not expecting anything more of what you're gonna eat that night from the aina. So um, yeah, definitely appreciative to those kumu in my life, or guard bring raising me. So
Yeah. Yeah, Waipio Valley is definitely a beautiful aina that I hope one day Mokua can be in just like that. Um,
yeah.
but I wanted to ask, you mentioned kuleana and not waiting for someone to ask you to do something, to just go ahead and do it. Um, how did you realize? How did you find out that this was your kuleana? And do you feel like your mo'oku'ohau, your genealogy, assigned you this kuleana in any way?
Yeah, I definitely do, because it's something I never saw myself doing when I was younger and growing up, you know. And it got to a point in my life where my high school years and my college years, I was going down there to enjoy the water a lot of the times, to just bodyboard and surf and get away. And, you know, I always had these problems, but I think social media brought an increased amount of visitors, which just multiplied those problems to a point where like they're harder to ignore. And it got to a point where I started noticing I would go surf all the time, but I'd pull up to the beach and it wouldn't feel right, you know, jumping in the water, because I look around and it'd be like, oh, you know, nothing but trash. And I think, how can I go take from the aina and not ever give back? Because I was a person that, I mean, talk about, you know, sacrificing everything for go ride waves. That was me, you know, being selfish and just wanting to get in the ocean. And after a while, I started looking at the way the place was treated. I started thinking about the lessons from our kupuna and how strict they were. And I thought to myself, we're like, I don't know if they were trying to tell me something, or Keakua was trying to tell me something through their memory, but just got to a point where I would just be walking around the house, ranting and raving every day to my wife, Auntie, about all the problems going on down there. So she'd be like, you got to do something, you know, about it, rather than just complaining and whatnot. So a few years ago, you know, just venting to some of the brothers that surf down there and about the stuff that was going on, you know, all these people coming down, burning paddocks. And one of my friends told me, hey, maybe you should start a Facebook group just to get the outreach out. So one night, me, my daughter Taylor, and my wife sat down. We say, hey, what would be a good name for a group or whatever? And we thought of the name Protectors of Paradise. We just started a Facebook group and tried to go from there. And it seemed like from there, everything, the universe was just guiding us, and our kupuna and everything we learned guiding us into the path that we're going to take. And it hasn't been an easy one, but definitely it was that passion, I think, especially from Uncle Ivanhoe, who, when he passed, it was kind of like, I felt heartbroken, because I felt like this man had so much knowledge and passion and love for this place. And when he passed away, I felt like, oh man, like who's gonna like continue on that work that he was doing? So when we got into the work, the more we got into it, I felt like, hey, maybe we're just trying to help pick up where he left off in continuing for our generation and to the next generation to steward these places, yeah, that our family has deep roots, you know, at. So there's been times where, I don't know if any of your kupuna have told you, but one of my aunties always told me, hey, you see the red cardinal out in Makua or anywhere, that's your kupuna or Keakua acknowledging, letting you know. And plenty times I'd have plenty doubts, you know, throughout the path. And it's been troubling a lot of times. And the minute I would have those doubts, when red cardinal would go fly past me or in the road, and I'd be like, okay, Keakua, you confirming that, no, you got to just stick on this path and stuff like that. So little signs here and there from God that have shown me to, like, yeah, definitely our continuing work from our kupuna, you know. It was one story to share. When we were young kids, so the Naive Ohana has two different families, right? Our grandfather had, you know, some children with the Bailey, with Wilhelmina Bailey. But Grandma Bailey, she was an old lady, and maybe like in her 80s, we'd go to the cemetery. Uncle Ivan then would be in their 50s, and they would be dancing around to the music, and she'd be whacking them with her cane. Like, and me and my brother would look in the channel, like, oh, how's Auntie? She actually trying to hit them with her cane, because she would tell them, you don't do that on this aina, you don't do that. And when we was young kids, we realized, wow, how strict. They wasn't even doing anything bad in my eyes, but the level of respect that they had, that's a story I'm always going to remember, because that's the way they viewed it, was to the point where not just throwing trash would be like something out of this world, but just they were so strict the way they conducted themselves. And so those kind of stuff is like, it was kind of crazy to see an old frail lady who trying to whack grown men with a cane, you know. So, but anyway, sorry if
Yeah.
I'm going off to tangents and whatnot.
No worries. This is exactly the kind of stories that I'm trying to get, because
So,
you know, even these little things, these little details is super important in telling the larger story.
yeah.
So yeah, definitely that you know, you really gotta walk into that land with a sense of reverence that you wouldn't treat any other land with, you know.
Mm.
And in that sense, I kind of wanted to ask you, like, what do you see with like the um, connection between like education and community outreach? Like, how has that been like a useful tool for you to organize Protectors of Paradise, and how do you, and what do you think the importance of education is in doing what you do?
I think that's pretty much everything. Yeah, awareness is the key because um, the hard part for us is growing up. Like our dad was very on the sometimes overly humble, where you don't do nothing for praise or anything like that. So sometimes posting stuff on social media would be like kind of uncomfortable for us, you know, as like we're not trying to like go for praise or boast what we're doing, but it came to the point where like the heaven would be so bad, and it wouldn't be just Makua, but from like here all down, it would be like, hey, we gotta start spreading the awareness. You know what I mean? Letting people know what is happening on our island. And I think the situation up at Mauna Kea and realizing how people spreading awareness and getting the word out of things going on can spread to become a positive thing was a good example of like, hey, if we can just get some awareness out to let people know what is happening, then they can take that knowledge from there. And you know, and from what we've, you know, I've met so much good people just from, you know, social media posting stuff out there. People want to come to cleanups, and it just links to me the like-minded people in the community to create that strong community bond to just, I guess what it is to me have a platform. Yeah, I feel like a lot of the Hawaiian people and communities have the heart, have the desire, have the work ethic, but to find a platform which everybody can come together and join efforts is kind of makes it easier, but it's not always the things that are set in place. So we felt like if we can try to create that platform, then, you know, it couldn't hurt. So, but yeah, definitely hasn't been easy though, because you know how it is on social media, right? And with keyboard warriors, yeah, the guys that will never show up to and clean up, but you know, they got the meanest criticism day in, day out, and it gets kind of tiring. You know, you work hard, and people always gonna have their own opinions, and we respect that, but get plenty of people that just they act like you're the Avengers or something, you know, like, oh, go do this, go do that. It's like, we try our best, but at the same time, nothing happens overnight, yeah, bro. So just keep moving. To me, personally, I feel like the work we're doing in our generation is to bridge that gap and set up the real platform for your guys' generation. I think your guys' generation is going to be the one that is really going to bring things back. But it's up to us in our generation to make sure that we keep that path open, because the kupuna blazed it for us, you know. And if we don't do nothing now, then it's going to affect you guys. So that's why we're here.
You talked about keyboard warriors and how they kind of have been a sort of obstacle in your, you know, doing what you do on social media. So if you could just tell me about a few things that maybe when the activist political work was really difficult for you, maybe even a time where you felt like giving up, and then what kept you going.
Well, yeah, I guess like one example would be, you know, like when the Aina is treated badly or there's problems, a lot of people will stay complacent, but then the minute someplace gets shut down or it affects them personally, then now they're upset. I'm gonna use Makua and Kelvul as an example, because for all those years before it was even closed, we were trying to post, you know, shots of the rubbish or just things that were going on so the community could be aware, hey, this is the stuff that's going on. Like anything in life, if we don't take care of it, if we don't show kuleana, it might be taken from us. And all those years, it would be like, yeah. And then not on anything we had any say on, but once they closed the gates, now everybody all upset, like, oh, how come this, how come that, how come you're not doing this? And about, if everybody was to be on the same page and tell the people at top, hey, this is what we expect, then maybe those people, the politicians, the state parks administrators, maybe they listen, because the squeaky wheel is going to get the grease. But when it's only a few people, fighting for that, it makes it's kind of when we're not all on the same page, And so for me personally, I want the access to be given to people to be able to use these places. But I feel like there should be a management plan set in place so that way the usage doesn't turn into abuse. But the hard part is getting more people to actually get the word and like send out emails to the legislators or the administrators for DLNR and stuff. That's where they want to see the majority. Like they want to hear more voices. And so it's been a learning process. The political side's been interesting, working in Waianae, the place that has the highest population of Native Hawaiians in the world, but also has such a high homeless rate, crime rate, drug. And so you look sometimes at the leaders and you would want them to try to represent the people more than what we've been seeing. So, when they closed down Makua in 2016 for overnight use, we were working on cleaning it up so they could reopen it for the people to go back in and camp again. But we were told, oh, we didn't get the money. The DLNR said they don't have the money to do what they needed to do. So we said, okay, what we're going to do now? But then the representative from Waianae, the senator, rather than fighting for the money that they needed, she wrote a bill that requested $70,000, which only involved a private special interest group in Makua. And so that was, those kind of things was like very controversial, because when they closed the gates and now you get this special interest type activity, now the blame came on us. Like, oh, you guys didn't close the gates just so you guys can do your guys special interest. Was like, no, we're not connected to that kind of activity. But like I guess the question was like the political powers at hand. Yeah, it really feels like a lot of the times that the Hawaiian communities aren't really set up for success. A lot of times there's, you got to hold it accountable. We got to hold ourselves accountable. At the same time, though, the type of neglect that is shown towards the leeward coastline is like pretty amazing if you compare it to the other coastlines in terms of just the response you'll get from the people in office or like the Department of State Parks. They'll leave human waste and all that stuff. They'll just leave it there with no worry in the road for years, But I would imagine the other side of the island, that kind of stuff not taking place. So yeah, it does get very frustrating, because sometimes I personally feel Hawaii is such a target for business, right? Tourism, people to make money. It's beautiful, and I feel like the Hawaiians are the one thing in the way, yeah, for these big businesses and these corporations to do their development, because the Hawaiians are always going to look towards keeping the balance and making sure that the Aina is not being jeopardized. But because you look at all the things that go on, who's the ones that are going to show up and to protect a lot of these areas, the Hawaiian communities, and then you can just see it right from the windmills to Waimanalo, yeah, Mauna Kea. When we show up, you can tell the government is not too pleased about us getting in the way of their, you know what I mean? So I feel like in the big picture, Yeah, they're definitely not set up for, more people every day, right? Local families have to move away from Hawaii, and you just see people flocking from the mainland moving down here. So that's kind of a worrisome thing when you think about the future and how it's going to be for you guys growing up. You want them to still be in Hawaii. So anyway, sometimes,
So
sorry about I'm talking so much going off. I'm forgetting even the original
the
question you
question,
asked me, but so
no,
just
no,
keep me
no,
on track if you got to know, right, bro?
no, you pretty
No
much answered the
pushy.
question. But yeah, I kind of wanted to move on from that
Okay.
off of that idea of like tourism, right, and how it exploits the Aina and the people. And I
Mm.
wanted to ask you if there was anything that you could think of that would be like a solution to that, to tourism, and what kind of things could we put in place to sort of make a difference so that we make sure that the land is protected and taken care of.
Well, there's been times where we've talked about like the possible management plans for different areas in which now tourists are starting to overwhelm, and the Hawaii Tourism Authority in certain different places, different islands, they decided to charge tourists for admission to different parks or whatnot. But in those discussions, we always felt like realizing that the tourists were starting to venture out of Waikiki. They were getting more. They didn't like that whatever facade of that Hawaiian experience. They wanted that genuine Hawaiian experience. We started talking about possibly having more programs in which these tourists could be sign up for, whether it be a beach cleanup or a planting native plants somewhere, learning crafts, Hawaiian crafts, just to get them engaged in the culture, hands-on, might give them a little bit of a different perspective rather than just going on tour or on sightseeing and somebody telling you, but actually getting your hands, doing the work and being involved in more, hands-on cultural activities without, at the same time, it's a fine line, right? In Hawaiian culture, is like, you cannot do it to the point where now you're exploiting the culture for profit or whatnot, but you want to make sure, I feel that it would be helpful for them to be able to learn the way things were done and be able to engage in those things. So that way, when they come back the next time or their family comes back, they're going to have that level of respect or understanding to the culture from the inside out. You know what I mean? More inclusive.
Yeah, yeah. Like, do you think that Hawaiians are really given a seat at the table when it comes to these decisions?
I feel like there's a lot of times where they're not wanted to be given a seat at the table, but what we realize is that if you just, where there's a will, there's a way. And as long as you're doing the work and keeping involved with the hands-on stuff, then you're kind of always going to be in the conversation, because people can try to have conversations, but when they show up to the, you're going to be there, right? So yeah, a lot of times you sometimes find out stuff after the fact, but what we've tried to do, our work, a lot of our work in Makua and Keaula and the Waianae side, and we tell people, it's just so that way the people will always be involved in the discussion, and that way they can't X us out of the equation. Because if we just treat it as a divided thing, then they're going to always keep us at arm's bay, But the more you just get involved, go to a neighborhood board meeting, and then that thing going to trickle. You're going to meet this guy, that guy. They're going to, all like minds going to react then. Yeah, from there, just going to a neighborhood board meeting, now we were in different, levels of meeting with state parks, with DLNR, with the military, with NOAA, and stuff like that. So definitely you need to keep, I think, the voice at the table. Because if you don't, and that's the thing that I realized over the years, is like, there's been a lot of exclusion from the Hawaiian communities, and because of a lot of wrongs and hurt from the past. But when we do that, sometimes we're keeping ourselves out of the equation, in a sense where the only way we're going to huli the system is from the inside out. You know what I mean? the youth getting education, getting into positions within the government or different agencies to be, like you said, a seat and voice at the table. Without that, it's going to be go the opposite way, and we're going to dwindle off.
Yeah, so definitely that's important that Hawaiians, it's not a question of like will you get a seat at the table, is when that table is going to be presented to us. We need to make ourselves we need to put ourselves in that position to kind of dictate what we do, and how our aina is treated, right? So that's why I feel like your group is that first really community move to kind of say, hey, this is how we want to treat the land. This is how we want Makua to be stewarded. So in that vein, I kind of want to ask you, like, can you describe the ideal feature of your aina? And I guess in this case it's Makua, but don't limit yourself. You can talk about any kind of aina, like Hawaii, anything that you want to talk about.
Well, I will talk about in general, and it goes for Hawaii as a whole, but when we started the work we did, a lot of it was concentrated on Makua, but we also ventured down to Kea'au, and we would basically, my parameters for what we could take care of would be from Kea'au to Kaena Point, which is considered Kane Hunamoku, that the hidden land of Kane, once you pass Makaha. And it was just because that area has it doesn't get any attention, right? It's the no man's land kind of, and it would be dumped so heavily. But shoot, I forgot what I was. Sorry, but what was the original question? Pardon me. Yeah, you said
Yeah, so just describe the ideal feature of your aina.
Oh yeah.
Whether
Sorry
that means
that.
like whether that means like changing how the land is stewarded or demilitarization.
Yeah, and so there's a lot of places, like for example, I'm gonna speak of like from Kea'au down. I don't think there's much that needs to be done to the land already to make it beautiful, because it's already as beautiful as it is. There are certain things that I feel like would be good to bring back and restore. Like for example, at Makua, toward near the cave side, there were salt ponds. Yeah, they used to get alai salt from. In the middle of the beach, there was a fishing koa there. So to me, ideal aina would be having some things that were there. If it can be restored, if not, then let it be. But then to have it also be utilized as a living classroom for keiki here, as well as visitors. But to set it up in that sense where people are working the aina, learning, also cultivating, bringing farming lifestyle back to certain areas, and basically just having people to be able to utilize the aina with balance, and just not really leaving no trace behind. I mean, for starters, my ideal aina would just be having on beach be clean for starts, but other than that, I think just having it, the aina was a classroom, right, for our culture. And I think if you listen to it, you keep it clean, you don't do anything that's going to go against the grain, then everything that will just happen naturally after that. But yeah, I guess it seems like a long road from now, but well, my main goal is, I grew up going to these areas as a young kid, Makua and Ke'awula, and the thing would be empty, nobody. And I would go to Barber's Point sometimes and camp over there, and the place would be torn apart. The black would be all sand down there. And I got to a point where I was telling myself, like, wow, like Kea'au, Makua, all these areas with all the beach driving, the sand, the place is starting to look like crap. And so I'd always tell myself, like, what a shame it would be if my kids, by the time they got older and took their kids to these beautiful places that they just look like crap. So a lot of the work we do is just to keep the place the way it is for your guys, the future generations, and all your guys' future generations after you guys. So.
Yeah. So if you wanted me or your children to tell like one story about you or your kupuna, what would it be? Any mo'olelo that you can think of.
Well, you know, there's so much to think of, but then you know, there's one lesson that always comes to mind, and you know, I talk about it with my daughter a lot too, and it was the lesson of the stronger the adversary, the more special the purpose. Because this has been definitely a difficult um, path, but there's many other difficult paths you take in your own personal life. But you know, as I was younger, I'll be honest, you know, nothing too hard from the past. One time when I was younger, I got I used to be a kolohe and get into a lot of trouble, and got arrested one time. And I remember being in the back of the police car, and I asked the officer, like, "Well, this is my purpose in life. What? Just will be bad and get arrested." And that's what he told me. He said, "Brother," he said, "the more stronger the adversary, the more special your purpose." And he told me, if God's purpose for you or whatever you was, each individual, not just me, everybody in life wasn't so purpose, wasn't so strong, then the adversary or the devil, whomever, wouldn't be trying so hard to sabotage you from fulfilling it. So sometimes, like, you know, a lot of times we get down on ourselves. I'm a person that has grown up thinking negatively and trying to grow to be a more positive person. I was talking about it with Auntie last night. It's like one tree, right? The deeper into the ground the roots go, the, you know, in our tribulations in life, the higher the tree will grow. And so, yeah, don't be discouraged by hard times, because in anything you can set yourself to do something, and it's a good mission. You're going to have plenty tests, and sometimes the tests are, and how you pass the test today is going to determine what brings, you know, into your life tomorrow. So a lot of times things look like it happens in our life where it's the end, like, oh man, not, I cannot get past this. But believe in yourself, believe that you will get past it, because you were brought here, and Keokua knows how strong you are to do something special. I think each and every person has a special purpose. It's just a matter of finding what that is and just not getting discouraged no matter what happens. Because this thing, this personal path of trying to take care of the Aina has been one of the hardest things I've ever done personally. It's taking me to, made me go crazy sometimes in my own head. But when you can get past it and you get to the next day, oh man, when the horizon is clear, right? It's, you know, so yeah, that's one lesson I always don't mind sharing, because I know a lot of people go through hard times and stuff like that. So
Yeah, but hello for sharing that story. I mean, it's so relevant, especially in the West Side community, where like I grew up in the West Side community, and you know I was a lot of people that I know there's always surrounded by negativity and like drugs, crime, whether it be like the family members, the cousins, the friends, you know, they're like always surrounded by that. So I kind of want to ask you, like, do you think that the Aina had anything to do with like um, healing you in a way, or teaching you?
yeah,
And do you think that
I
could be like
do.
an effective tool for the community?
I really feel that you know, anything you can do for the Aina, um, it's like, it's kind of like you and the Aina become one, and the more you can do something to help fulfill the needs of the Aina, you're actually fulfilling a need in your own life. Sometimes, you know, growing up in church, we'd always, you know, if you sin, you got to repent and you know, ask for forgiveness. And I feel like a lot of those times, doing good in your life, you know, sometimes somebody will say, for every action, there is an equal or you know, worse reaction. So sometimes you think to yourself, oh, I did something bad, something bad would happen to me, and it could. But in the same sense, is do something bad, you can go do something good. You know what I mean? And you can, and give that kind of energy back. So sometimes, a lot of times, people they get so in that rut, yeah, where they think, ah, I did bad, fuck, I'm useless, I'm a loser, I might as well just stay in this rut. I've been there before, but um, you know, each rubbish sometimes I pick up, I feel like that's me scrubbing off one sin. That's another sin. And to the point where like, it definitely is, when you're doing it, sometimes you're getting pissed off, you're swearing, you're yelling. But there's other times where it's just nothing but aloha and, you know, fulfillment overwhelming you when you go look after and the place is clean, at least for a little while. That kind of stuff definitely helps heal. It has helped heal me as a person. It also definitely has made me see perspectives, because we work with a lot of houseless people out there, and to realize that no matter what you're going through, you always get somebody else that's going through probably worse struggles. But to never look down on those people, to actually look up to them in the sense that if you can just still keep trying, then I have no excuse not to keep, you know what I mean? Keep to it. But I feel like the drugs, I feel like the certain hewa that you see on the aina is just a symptom of the drugs. You know, whether it be crack ice use or whatever, now all this illegal stripping of cars, dumping on the road. But I feel like if the people were able to be given these opportunities, like a lot of the houseless people we worked with at KLs, if they could be given opportunity to maybe be a farmer, or like the people at Pu'ohonua or Hawaiian, they have a group of them that they get in their van, we call them the A-team, and they go clean up the community. So it's those types of things that can totally empower a situation that might feel totally helpless. Kind of like what you're saying is like, if we can heal the aina, I feel like we can heal our people. Because without the aina, then we kind of nothing.
Yo.
And so, yeah.
Yeah, mahalo for sharing that with me.
Oh, thank you, brother.
I know I just wish that all of my family members could get into the land, and you know, I've felt for myself that it's healed me in a lot of ways. It's given me a sense of purpose, and especially talking about like militarization. Yeah, I'm sure your tutu have shared stories with you, but my tutu auntie Jacqueline, she shared with me a lot of stories about how she was her dad John was a paniolo in Makua, and hearing all these stories like really just gave me so much life. And driving past that valley, you know, you see it locked up, fenced off, and sometimes you hear bombs at night. Hearing these stories really just give you life. So I kind of wanted to ask you, like, is there any like specific mo'olelo that your kupuna told you about like their experience pre-militarization that you really cherish?
I know before, I guess when they lived down there, they were very poor, yeah, and our family. But then the men, they worked at the ranch, yeah, at the Makua, the ranch. They were all paniola over there. And I remember one story, Uncle Ivanhoe, I think he was 19 at the time, and when Cowboy asked him to go castrate his bull, and so Uncle Ivanhoe did it, and then the guy, I guess, approached him in the saloon or whatever at a bar, and Uncle Ivan was so scared, he thought he messed up, but the cowboy came and told him, you know, he did such a wonderful job. And just hearing those stories about how simple life was back then, I guess, hearing one story in this book called Why Not, I guess Uncle Ivanhoe, when he was like 7 years old, the cowboys made him ride on horseback to the town to go get them whiskey, you know. I think to myself, my 7-year-old would get jacked right outside the store nowadays, right? with alcohol. But that's the kind of simple lifestyle they live. Everything was on horseback. My grandma, Tutu, Auntie Jackie, them, they used to tell stories about shining their little lanterns as a signal for the cowboy.
She told me that
cowboys,
story too.
And they would go meet them.
Yeah.
And sometimes and go, you know, make any kind or whatever. But
yeah.
Yeah, the lifestyle was simple, man. Even to my father's generation and Uncle Charlie Bailey, I forgot to mention him earlier too. He was also a kumu of mine that taught us a lot growing up as kids. But before he passed, he was on the phone with me a lot too about making sure that Makua wasn't gonna go down the drain. But yeah, all kinds. They basically during the summertime back then, that's where everybody would go and basically live, yeah, for the summer. For the whole summer, they would go just stay down there and camp for the whole summer, growing up. So definitely they have some fond memories. And Auntie Jackie used to live right next to my grandma. Actually, they lived on the same property off in Makiki. I don't know if you ever been visited that house,
No,
but
Tutu Jackie lived in Hilo when I was a kid.
oh
Yeah, with my grandma. So
yeah, yeah.
I never seen the Mokiki house.
Oh,
Yeah, tell me about that.
oh no, that's where they grew up. So I remember the reason why Auntie Jackie's house was memorable because her the ceiling was so low that every time I would go inside they would bang my head. Like on all the ceilings was real low, but it was so neat and immaculate her house. But um I don't know, there's just something about their generation, man. They had the biggest smiles, yeah, like from ear to ear, and just that's the honestly the reason why we do the work that we do. Um, a lot of times driving down there, I would always ano eye them and say, give my respects to all our kupuna that was raised out there, because the way they had to be removed from that land was kind of controversial. It's not, but at the same time, get different sides of it too. I guess my dad tells me too that they were so poor, it was so rough. It was kind of a rough upbringing too. Like when we go down there now, it's like, oh yeah, we get away from the city life, the country, the simple life. But back then it was kind of like you roughing it, and you get other people living, the simple, like one more modernized, easier lifestyle in town or whatever. But so like I told me that how come some of the kupuna they don't really talk about it too much, Makua. And he said sometimes maybe some of them like forget about that life down there because it wasn't easy, So, but yeah, thankful for them, for all of them, and also not just our kupuna, but you folks too, because I honestly feel we just don't trying to bridge that gap between the past and the future. And the kupuna was the past, and you guys are the future. So those two things are the fuel behind the work that we do. Plenty of times we think about just no need to deal with this. This is too much headache. But we think about the kupuna, no can ever deny them, right? And think about our keiki, and no can deny them either. So the same with you though. Plenty of times you think them and say, "Hey, where everybody else? How come my brother?" Sometimes like, but then at the same time, it's just a matter of trying to be understanding and patient to whatever their calling and stuff is. But the main thing, don't ever let anybody else's doubt for the calling that you're on make you doubt what you're doing. Because if you've been brought to this point, it's because Keokua had it mapped out for you and you're just answering it with flying colors. So, I met you only that one time, but just talking to you now, I'm very proud of you, bro. Thank you.
Hello. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for being that bridge. Without people like you, who knows where Makua would be right now. And I think that in a way you've definitely inspired me to just go out and do something, because I feel the same way that I always drive down that side and I always complain about oh, there's so much tourists or there's so much trash. But you're right that our kupuna always taught us to just do, and don't ask, and don't wait for somebody to ask you to do something, just do it. And so doing that, that was exactly what you did, and that's so inspirational to me, and important. But yeah,
thank you, bro. Because I was right there, the same thing with you. To the point where Auntie was so sick and tired of just me ranting and raving every day. She said, "Bro," she said, "you either go and do something about it or just shut up already." Because, and I guess that's the ignition part, though, right? That's the part that's that burning inside of you. If it wasn't for those agitations or then that passion, then the fire wouldn't get started. So that's that initial match, and that lighting that thing. Sometimes you get frustrated, and then from then you can determine how you want to go about it. But I think you're doing a good job, though.
Mahalo.
So,
Um,
because how old are you? 21.
21 in 2 months.
Oh wow, she's but that's the kind of stuff. As you guys age, we was the kind, man, going this way. You know what I mean? So very, very and not that say life is not gonna go like this, but for having a good foundation, at an early age, that's a good thing. And so I try to instill it in my daughter too, because if you can set that up and not have to go through all those loops, then nothing wrong with that either. So yeah, keep up the good work, boy.
Mahalo. I think we're just gonna start wrapping up the interview. If there's any last thoughts that you had that you wanted to share, feel free to share. Maybe just like one quote that you think that would be really important for the next generation to hear, or one idea, or just one thought, anything.
Yeah. Kind of, I think just a thought, realizing that especially with technology now, we find ourselves looking at this, being distracted from the fancy things in life, the glitter and the glamour. And it's always been the way in Hawaii, right? Where we kind of looking at sometimes the mainland, and people are impressed by those things, or whether it be fashion, music, or whatnot. But it's for people to realize that all those people that you're being distracted by, the people that live in the mainland or around the world, they want what you have for free. Growing up here in Hawaii, sometimes it gets easily taken for granted because it's all we know, right? Like beautiful beaches, beautiful sunsets, it happens every day. But for people to realize that what we have is so precious, and we're giving to it, giving it for free. We don't have to pay thousands of dollars to move here to acknowledge that blessing. Hawaii is one of the most beautiful places on earth, and to just be born with that right to, and that kuleana to take care of it and be one with it, is something that you're not going to find anywhere else in this world. Every place can be different, but I think Hawaii is in its uniqueness, right? Surrounded by water, for the youth to realize that the place that we have is super special, and takes it's going to take some consideration, because the more we get distracted to wanting the things that are, in front of us, the more it's going to get taken away. I watched the Eddie Aikau 30 for 30. I don't know if you watched that before, but how the North Shore was taken over by the surfing industry, and Waianae with its beautiful beaches, and you get dolphins, you get beautiful waves, you get the best white sandy beaches. It's only a matter of time where these outside developers want to gentrify it. So if Waianae was to become like Pupukia of North Shore, Hawaii Kai, Kailua, what's that going to leave for a lot of the Hawaiian people and the people that grew up that side? Are they going to end up being displaced and whatnot? So not to wait till it's too late to start worrying about those things, but to realize now when you're young, hey, if we can get together and empower ourselves now, maybe we can stop that. Because from my personal experience, they're trying to gentrify Waianae side big time.
Definitely.
So just to realize before it's too late, that you can still stand for it and protect it. To me, I consider it the last stronghold. That's one thing I always considered, that side of the island the last stronghold, because everywhere else was just taken over already. So I use that as a hashtag sometimes, just to get the people down that side feeling about we're the last line, for this island and for that side. So yeah, the last stronghold, bro.
I kako that, because that's how I feel as well. I've always felt like Waianae side was like just the last stand for Hawaiians, and if there was ever going to be systemic change for Hawaiians, that it would start in Waianae. It would start in Waimanalo, in all of these Hawaiian populated areas. That's why we gotta stand even. And at times I feel like there's like a sense of urgency, to do something before it's too late.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, like even Makaha, like, you know, I can tell that it does seem like it's getting a little more gentrified than your normal.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of stuff like is alarming to me. Like, no, yeah. So I definitely Kako'o that, and yeah,
Yeah.
we gotta stay strong. The last stronghold. I
Yeah.
agree with that wholeheartedly.
And I feel like if we can set up a platform and set an example, like we figure if we can set one example and we can just have it applied down the coastline, then like you said before, the Aina going to be thriving and the people themselves going to follow it in line and the community just going to maybe huli from some of the hardships that it's been going through. Yeah. So, but yeah, but it's good that that's that side and the our culture as a whole has guys like you and you know and Hina and all you folks that are in are aware and in tune of what needs to be done. So mahalo to you guys, you know.
Mahalo, uncle. Mahalo for not only talking to me, but you know, sharing your mana'o with my classmates as well.
No
You
problem.
know, I value your mana'o so much, and I just, you know, thank you again for taking time out of your busy schedule to come in and talk with me.
Oh yeah, anytime, boy. And you know, I can have Taylor give you my number too. If you ever need to talk or you wanna, you know, feel free to call me anytime.
Mhm.
A lot of times, I've struggled in the sense of, oh, who am I gonna call? The one person I would want to call or the two people I want to call not here anymore, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
And so sometimes you feel lost, like, oh, let's call this auntie, but maybe she don't care. You're frustrated, but you can always call anytime you have a question or need to you know find out or anything. Feel free to call. So I will Taylor give you my number so you can contact me if you
Thank you
need anything.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's just gonna wrap up the interview. Um,
Okay.
just, you know, mahalo ho. Um, I hope to talk to you soon, and you know, maybe we can do some work. You know,
Yeah.
I like come down, but
That's why that's why I told Taylor too. Like, hey, whenever one day you guys find that works for you folks, we can all take one who cut you down there and just
mhm.
you know what I mean, be at the Aina. So
Okay,
that'll be good. And thank you, bro. Sorry, you know, me, I talk off in Tanya. I'm not a greatest speaker. I rather just work, you know, but thank you for bearing with me.
no problem. This is
So,
awesome. So the interview, you know, I'm gonna present them to you before I finalize it, and I'm gonna make few edits here and there. And
okay.
I'm gonna be working with you like to hear your input. If there's
Okay.
anything you want to include or exclude, you know,
Okay.
it's really up to this is all up to you and what you want to share. So I just want to be
Well,
respectful of that.
you know, I'm going to work with you in that sense, but this is your project. You have a vision for it, and so it's you do what you feel works for you, and it's going to be fine. This thing, my uncle, I'm pretty flexible, and um, you know, I've gone through a lot of criticism growing up, so we get pretty thick skin and whatnot. So whatever you feel, how you want to do it, you take it in that path, and
You
then
know,
if you feel any doubts, you need to ask me any questions, then by all means, I'll be here. But uh, this was your project that I feel like you're doing an awesome job for. I don't want to have anything more to add to it except what you ask of me. So other than that,
yeah,
I
you
think
know.
you get them.
Okay,
Okay.
I'll stop the recording now.
Okay.